The room stayed calm as the baby slept on a mint blanket, unaware that three tiny puppies sat watching with oddly serious little eyes. Only the faint hum of the house filled the air, yet something about the stillness made the puppies tilt their heads in quiet concern. The beige puppy crept forward first, paws soft on the tile, sensing a tiny shift in the baby's breathing that felt strangely important. The black and white puppy leaned in closer, nose brushing the baby's ear as if listening for a hidden message beneath the silence. The brown-white puppy hung back, trembling at a shadow on the cabinet, like it could sense something approaching from beyond sight. A dull thump echoed from the hallway, sudden and low, sending a shiver through the puppies as the baby's tiny fist tightened gently. The puppies glanced at one another with an unspoken understanding, forming a silent pact to guard the sleeping child at all costs. The beige puppy positioned itself bravely near the baby's head, ears twitching sharply toward the place where the sound began. The black and white puppy circled the blanket edges with careful sniffs, alert and focused in a way far beyond its tiny size. The brown-white puppy followed timidly, sensing the temperature in the room drop slightly, as if something was drawing near. A slow creak rolled through the floorboards, stretching the silence thinner, freezing all three puppies in a moment of pure tension. Right beside the peacefully dreaming baby, the puppies realized the room held a presence they had not noticed until that very second. The hallway's silence thickened as the puppies huddled closer, their tiny bodies trembling while the baby slept without a single stir. A faint draft drifted under the door, cold enough to ruffle their fur, making them glance back at the peaceful child they guarded. The beige puppy stepped forward bravely, nose twitching at the unfamiliar scent that floated in with the chilling air. The black and white puppy lowered its body, tail flattened, sensing a presence just beyond the thin wooden door. The brown-white puppy whimpered softly, but even that tiny sound echoed louder than it should have in the quiet room. A shadow flickered at the base of the door, moving slowly, stretching unnaturally long across the tiled floor. The puppy's eyes widened, and they instinctively formed a tiny protective circle around the sleeping baby. The mint blanket rustled slightly as the baby shifted, unaware of the tension pressing thick against the air. Another soft tap reached the room, like something testing the door with deliberate, curious pressure. The beige puppy barked once, quiet but sharp, breaking the silence and challenging whatever stood outside. The shadow froze instantly, as though startled by the unexpected courage of such tiny creatures. And in that frozen moment, the puppies sensed they had only a few breaths before the next sound arrived. The next sound was softer, almost like a whisper of movement, brushing the door with quiet, unsettling insistence. The beige puppy stepped closer, ears raised high, refusing to let fear push it back from protecting the tiny sleeper. The black and white puppy pressed its head against the blanket, checking the baby as if ensuring he stayed safe and calm. The brown-white puppy edged toward the cabinet, hiding partly but keeping one eye fixed on the creeping shadow. A sudden metallic click echoed faintly, not from the door, but from somewhere deeper in the hallway beyond. The murmuring air shifted again, and the puppies felt that strange presence drawing nearer with every passing second. The beige puppy let out a low growl, tiny yet fierce, sending a trembling warning through the quiet room. The black and white pup nudged the baby's hand gently, as if preparing him in case something went wrong. The brown-white puppy sensed the tension too, its trembling growing stronger as the shadow crept further inside. A faint glimmer of light flickered from the hallway, illuminating the shadow's shape for just a heartbeat. The puppies stiffened as they realized the shape was not random movement, but something moving with intention. And in that heartbeat of discovery, the room felt smaller, colder, and dangerously close to losing its calm. The door shivered slightly, almost like a heartbeat pushed from the other side, deep and slow and full of warning. The beige puppy backed up only enough to stand directly beside the baby's head, refusing to leave its tiny guard post. The black and white puppy crawled onto the blanket itself, curling protectively near the baby's small, curled fist. The brown-white puppy took a hesitant step forward, gathering courage as the shadow thickened along the floor. The whispering sound returned, this time softer but unmistakably closer, like breath slipping under the doorway. The puppies felt their instincts surge, a silent message urging them to be ready no matter what came next. The beige puppy growled again, louder, snapping the tension like a thin string pulled far too tight. The shadow hesitated, shrinking back slightly, as though startled by the bravery of the trembling guardians. A soft knock tapped once, slow and deliberate, sending a shockwave of fear through the tiny, furry protectors. The black and white puppy's ears flattened as it pressed against the baby, shielding him with its warm body. The brown-white puppy scurried closer, forming a protective barrier with the others, tiny yet determined. And together they faced the trembling door, united by a silent promise to protect the sleeping child. The air felt heavier now, thick enough that even the baby shifted, as if sensing the tension swirling around him. The beige puppy stood rigid, staring at the gap beneath the door where the shadow hovered in eerie hesitation. The black and white puppy lifted its head, watching the baby's chest rise and fall, guarding him with quiet devotion. The brown-white puppy crept forward again, fear still trembling through it, but loyalty tugging it into bravery. A chilling breeze seeped through the doorway once more, carrying with it a faint scent none of them recognized. The puppies exchanged a nervous glance, realizing the presence outside wasn't leaving. It was waiting for something. The beige puppy barked again, louder this time, a tiny sound filled with courage it barely understood. The shadow twitched unexpectedly, recoiling as though the tiny bark had struck it harder than expected. The baby exhaled softly, unaware of the battle unfolding only inches from his peaceful dreams. The puppies stood firm, three little guardians creating a barrier their size could never fully explain. The quiet stretched, long and cold, as though the entire room was holding its breath for what came next. And as the silence deepened, the presence beyond the door prepared to make its next move. The hallway fell silent again, but the silence no longer felt empty. It felt watchful, like something listening closely. The beige puppy edged nearer to the door, paws trembling yet steady, determined to face whatever waited beyond. The black and white puppy rested against the baby, guarding him with a steady warmth that calmed his tiny breaths. The brown-white puppy peeked toward the gap under the door, bracing for the shadow that lingered just out of sight. A sudden flutter of air rustled the mint blanket, causing the baby's hand to uncurl slightly in his peaceful sleep. The puppy stiffened, sensing movement outside, so faint it was almost like someone dragging a whisper across the floor. The beige puppy growled low, a warning carried through the quiet room with remarkable courage for its tiny size. The hallway responded with a soft scrape, a slow, dragging sound that made the puppies inch closer together nervously. The air grew colder, pressing against the door as though something was leaning toward it from the other side. The black and white puppy pressed closer to the baby, forming a protective shield with its soft, trembling body. The brown-white puppy shifted behind the others, preparing itself despite the fear shaking through every tiny bone. And just as the tension peaked, the doorknob gave a faint click that rippled across the room like a warning. The click echoed softly, but to the puppies it sounded like thunder, sending a wave of fear through their small bodies. The beige puppy stepped forward bravely, its stance firm despite the tremble in its paws and ears, standing upright. The black and white puppy kept its head near the baby's chest, watching his breathing for any sign of distress. The brown-white puppy peeked around them, eyes wide, waiting for the next sound with a nervous anticipation. Another subtle click followed, softer this time, as if whoever or whatever was turning the knob hesitated uncertainly. The air felt electric, filled with tension so thick it made the puppy's tiny hearts race in synchronized beats. The beige puppy barked once, sharp and commanding, breaking the silence with a burst of determined courage. The hallway responded with a sudden stop of movement, as though the presence outside reconsidered its next step. The black and white puppy nuzzled the baby's blanket, grounding itself in the warmth of the child it protected. The brown-white puppy inched toward them again, making the trio form a tight shield around the sleeping infant. A long moment passed with no further sound, each second stretching like a thin thread ready to snap. Then, faintly, something tapped the door, 3 slow taps that made the puppies freeze in terrifying anticipation. Those taps vibrated through the door, soft yet ominous, like fingers testing the boundary before crossing it entirely. The beige puppy braced itself strongly, letting out a louder growl that echoed fiercely across the quiet room. The black and white puppy pressed its body protectively against the baby, shielding him with tiny but bold devotion. The brown-white puppy shivered but refused to retreat, inching forward to stand beside the others with courage. A thin beam of light flickered under the door, stretching across the floor like something searching for a way inside. The puppies stared, unable to look away, waiting for the shadow to follow the light in its slow, creeping movement. The hallway grew unnaturally quiet again, but the tension lingered, making every heartbeat echo in the silence. The beige puppy barked again, voice stronger, shaking off fear as if courage itself grew with every passing moment. The shadow paused, shrinking back slightly, reacting to the determination of the tiny protectors facing it bravely. The black and white puppy nudged the baby gently, as if reassuring him despite the unseen danger only inches away. The brown-white puppy pushed closer, forming a perfect triangle of protection around the peacefully sleeping child. And just when it seemed the presence might retreat, a soft scraping sound returned, sliding slowly across the hallway floor. The scraping sound grew clearer, a slow, dragging motion that made the puppy's fur stand as tension filled the air. The beige puppy moved closer to the door, planting its paws firmly as though daring the threat to step forward. The black and white puppy kept its gaze on the baby, determined to stay close and protect the tiny sleeper. The brown-white puppy glanced nervously between the door and the blanket, fear and loyalty battling inside it. The scraping sound stopped abruptly, leaving a silence so thick it felt almost heavy, as if the room itself held its breath. The puppies listened carefully, ears twitching, waiting for the slightest hint of movement beyond the doorway. A gentle breeze slipped into the room, cold and unsettling, carrying with it a faint smell neither of them recognized. The beige puppy responded with another bark, echoing through the quiet space with a strength beyond its size. The shadow under the door withdrew slightly, shrinking like it feared the courage of the tiny protectors guarding the child. The black and white puppy nudged the baby again, sensing his calm and drawing strength from his peaceful breaths. The brown-white puppy inched closer until it stood firmly beside the others, forming a united line of bravery. And in that moment, something lightly tapped the door again, only once, but the impact felt heavy with a chilling intent. The single tap echoed longer than it should have, spreading across the room like a final test from the unseen presence. The beige puppy stood tall, tiny chest rising with firm determination, refusing to allow anything near the sleeping child. The black and white puppy pressed in closer, blanketing the baby with a protective warmth as tension rippled around them. The brown-white puppy moved forward too, fear still present, but overshadowed by the loyalty pulsing through its heart. The cold air seeped in again, but this time the puppies stood strong, no longer trembling in the presence of the unknown. The hallway quieted suddenly, the scraping gone, the shadows slowly fading as if retreating back into darkness. The beige puppy let out a low growl, one final warning telling the presence that its approach was no longer tolerated. The black and white puppy rested its head on the baby's shoulder, calming its breathing with a comforting closeness. The brown-white puppy leaned against the others, forming a solid circle of warmth and unwavering protection. For a long moment, the silence held steady. No more taps, no more movement, only a fading chill drifting away. The puppies remained alert, but their bravery had carved a barrier that even the unseen presence dared not cross. And beside the peacefully dreaming baby, the three tiny guardians waited, ready for whatever came next in the quiet night.